Hello. Today we are going to talk about calculating the project costs and estimating the project basically. I'm Vladimir Tutov, head of R&D department and project manager here in Archer Software. I'm in software development last 15 years. I started with some technical background as developer, and last 8 years I work as a project and product manager. So first of all, regarding the techniques and methods that we use for the estimation. The first one, and it is the first one according to PMBOK and other methodologies. So the first one is analogous or top-down estimate. This is like helicopter view for the project. You don't see too many details, but you see like scale of the project, and you can imagine the complexity of the project. And the most important thing here is that you can do this estimate really quickly. I mean, literally quickly on the call right now with the client. Uh, this is really useful method because you can do this estimate on the go, and for instance when you are not sure that you are on the same page with the client, you need to check if his understanding of the project and your understanding are aligned. So sharing high-level estimate for the project will be one of the good options to make sure that you are on the same page. So basically, when client explain it some basic features of the project, you could, as a project manager, you could also almost uh, always find similar projects from your past, and you already know how long those projects took and how costly they were. So you already know the scale of the project, and you could tell that I see that this project will be something like $400,000. And in this case, if client uh, tells that yeah, something like this probably I would like to make it like shorter and smaller for the beginning, that's okay, but the high level estimate is aligned with his expectations. But in case when the client goes I don't think so, I would imagine this uh, done for 40 case. In this case, you know that something is wrong in your expectations and in your understanding. And before going into detailed estimate, you need to you need to find out why your expectations as a project manager is not aligned with the client expectation. Um, so this is really useful technique, but it doesn't provide, of course, doesn't provide uh, precise numbers because there are a lot of details and differences between the projects, and yeah, there is no similar project like that similar to estimate precisely with top-down estimate. Um, so when the expectations of the client and expectations of project manager and the team are aligned, we can go down and we can do more detailed estimate. This is bottom-up estimate. To do this, we need to decompose all the activities, and we need to decompose them really deeply. So each of the tasks that team will estimate in the future should be something like 1 or 2 days, but no more than 4 days long. because with bigger tasks in the task list during the estimate, we can get more discrepancies, and in the end, we will not get a precise estimate as we want to. So we need to drill down into details as low details as possible to get the full list. And another point is really important during this bottom-up estimate is that when we drilling down into the smaller tasks, we also think how will we do the project, and we also think how risky or complex some of activities will be. So this is really important thing to do. And basically, when we already have a list of the tasks, we classically we need to do this 3 points estimate. Here in Archer, we modify it a little bit, but general idea is the same. So 3 point estimate is done by the entire team. So entire team should review all the tasks and make estimate optimistic number, pessimistic number, and the most probable. Uh, so out of these 3 points, 3 numbers, we can get one, the like most probable result based on the formula, and we also can see the range how each of the tasks varies in length and of course in cost. So in Archer, we used to estimate all the tasks as range between optimistic and pessimistic result. Um, Also, during the estimate, there are a couple of techniques that we always use and that are really important to use. First one is alternative analysis. Is basically mean that we need to review all the tasks and all different options how to implement the project, how to build the process, how to like which team setup to use, and so on and so forth. So we don't need to stick to the first guess that comes to our mind, but we need to review few options and few alternatives basically for every tasks and every part of the project that we see. By doing this, we can be sure that at least suboptimal result will be reached in the end. So yeah. Uh, another technique is reserve analysis, and to make a precise estimate, this is also really important thing to do. Basically, reserves that we add to the project could be split into 2 parts according to PMI methodologies. So first part is reserve and buffers for risks. Um, how do we do this? In details, I will tell about it a bit later. But in general, we get list of all the risks that we see for the project. We analyze how will we treat these risks, what will we do with the risks, and we add buffers to react to these possible risks. So we add these buffers to the project, and we monitor if risks happen during the project. Uh, and this one calls known unknown. Uh, and there is a second buffer that we used to add to the project, and it is also from PMBOK theory. It calls unknown unknown. So this one goes for some things that we like cannot foresee right now that they will happen, but we already know that for the project with this complexity and this size, we typically, like in the end, typically get another 5-10% of time just to polish the project and to clean up all the things that suddenly happen in the end. So we already know this from the past, and we can add some buffers here just to make sure that client expectations will be real, and we will not pass the project with some issues while finishing all the scope and basically using all the costs that were allocated to the project. So we need to have some buffers to unknown risks right now. And another technique here is group decision making. So right now, this is really important and I would say essential one, especially while using agile methodologies like Scrum or Kanban. All estimate according to these methodologies and basically according to group decision making technique are done by entire team, and entire team means not only all the developers but also QA and system administrator and business analyst and who else is included into the team. Because here the more minds and the more experience we bring into this group decision making, the more precise estimate we will get in the end. Uh, yeah. So this was something from theory, and now I will show you an example. How do we apply this theory in Archer while doing the estimates? Yeah, before before estimate might happen, um, we need to analyze uh, this current stage of the project, because before doing the estimate, we need to have some level of understanding of the task that we are estimating. And we used to uh, work with three different levels here. So on the first level, some clients go to us, and they can, on a high level, formulate understanding of what needs to be done, but just on a high level. And they don't know precisely what is the market and what are the client groups, and they might don't know who are the potential partners and all other aspects of the business model. So on this level of understanding, we typically propose to do business analysis first and get clear understanding of the business model, and basically to draw business canvas and define all main points, and basically being able to see what are the required features here in the future. The next level might be exactly like this. So the client came to us with a some clear business model and existing business canvas, probably some business plan already in place. But he missing some details of the features that he want to implement. So these details are described during system analysis phase. And during system analysis phase, we describe features from the high level and drilling down into the really detailed level. So basically, we used to describe features in details and split them to user stories. So the user stories might be understood and implemented further by developers. And also, in parallel with system analysis, we typically recommend to create design mockups and wireframes. So basically, on the next phase, developers will see how the application or system will look like, and will be able to read all the specifications of behavior and some non-functional requirements to get full understanding of the future system. So yeah, these are two parts of the second phase. And if client goes to developers with some described requirements and ideally with design high fidelity mockups. In this case, we need to jump in just briefly and make up some architecture, future architecture, and propose this architecture to the client, just to make sure that we are on the same page in terms of system components, modules, and so on and so forth. So this might be done already during estimation process, but in some cases we would split architecture planning in some small preliminary phase. And some projects came to us already while implementation is in progress. So already features are described, architecture is planned, and implementation started. So we need just to jump in and augment the team or to replace existing team in some cases. Right, so before doing the estimate, based on all those phases and all those steps, we will get first of all system requirement specification or use cases or user stories. The format really depends on client needs and on specific project. Also, we would extract feature list as a short list of system modules and required features. So we will work during the estimation, we will work with this feature list, and we will set estimate for each feature. And also, as I said, clickable prototypes or low or high fidelity wireframes are also really important for estimate to be precise. And there might be some other functional or non-functional requirements for the project. So it is also important to find out what are other requirements that the client have. All right. So when we have all of this, we can start decomposing the tasks, the features into smaller details into the tasks, and we can also extract risks during this process. So our initial and draft estimate usually looks like this. So list of the features is split into detailed tasks, and we have some different parts of the applications and estimates for the tasks. Like this application framework needs to be done for iOS part, for Android part, and for the backend one. Also, during this process, we always identify the risks, and risks is next important page here. So during this identification, it is also important to have some list of typical risk sources in mind. And this list might be get from internet or from the past experience, and it doesn't really matter. But it is important to to go through this list and make sure that none of the obvious risks are just forgotten. So, for instance, when we plan to do some, I don't know, e-commerce application for some, let's say, shop with clothing or something like this. In this case, we need to go over risk for the mobile application and the risk source are something from third-party integration, from payment system modules, Android application, working on different Android devices, and so on and so forth. So we, during the estimation, during estimating each of the tasks, we need to review this list of sources and think, is some of the issues applicable here, like can for this specific task risk like integration with third-party system be applicable or not. And during this process, we identify some of the risks, we estimate probability and impact of the risks. How can we estimate the impact? Ideally, we would need to plan reaction plan to this risk. And not only a reaction, but ideally, we would have some actions done in advance to avoid this risk. So this impact basically estimation of this plan or mitigation, avoiding, or just applying the risk to the project. Well, so after this process, we have estimation for our risks. Data set it to the project itself as a buffer. So here you can see final estimate that we have out of risk analysis and tasks estimation. So here we see higher level of the tasks, basically application level, and also additional activities like DevOps, testing, and management that typically we add proportionally to the development estimate. And also you could see cleanup and acceptance. This is unknown that I mentioned before. So this is estimate how long we will do cleanup in the end of the project. for this type of the project. And also here we plan team setup, how many developers and QA do we need for the project. And based on this, we can calculate time frame draft. And the last thing that is left is just add rate hours for our developers and get final project cost. So that's it for the technical estimate for project manager work and teamwork. And then this technical estimate goes to sales department, and guys in sales department augment this pretty uh, not good looking table, augment with our templates and with all text details, and the template looks like this. So basically, client gets after the estimation process, client gets Excel spreadsheets with all the details, and also full proposal according to this template that describes all standard conditions and all main parts of the process that we propose to the client. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching this.